Welcome back, and in this video you can see that we're going to do a rectangular array. Now, one thing to note about a rectangular array is that the numbers that you're going to use, and it can be kind of confusing, but hopefully after you see this video it's going to clear things up. Most importantly, the thing that we need to know is the spacing between each objects. So these are the critical numbers here. The rest of this stuff is just geometry to help you kind of create the drawing, but these are going to be the critical numbers that you're going to use when you create the rectangular array. All right, so let's jump over to AutoCAD and get started. Okay, normal housekeeping that we're going to do is go ahead and turn off our grid, turn on ortho. Our dynamic input is turned on, and we can take a look at our running O snaps, and these are the ones that I'm going to use. Alright, so let's go ahead and create our rectangle. So let's create a rectangle, and remember that I'm going to click the lower left corner, or I'm just going to type it in. So these are absolute coordinates when you first type in these numbers. I'm just going to type in 0, 0, enter, and then I'm going to tell it how high the other side is, which is going to be 62, 62. Enter. Now hopefully that kind of makes a little sense. So I just created a rectangle, and the numbers that I use were going to be these numbers. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to locate this object here. So I'm going to go ahead and create this square located here. And now the critical numbers is to understand is that the distance from this endpoint to here, we see that we have a 2 typical and a 2 typical. So that gives me my height and my kind of width away from this lower corner. So that's going to help us out tremendously. Alright, so with that being said, I'm just going to kind of pan this over a little bit, and this is my lower left corner, that's 0, 0. So I'm going to create a rectangle, and once again, the first coordinates that it's looking for is my absolute coordinates. So I'm just going to type in 2, 2, and that's going to locate it 2 to the right and 2 up, enter. And then I'm going to tell it how big my rectangle is. And this is where absolute is going to come in at. I'm sorry, not absolute, relative. So I'm going to type in 10, 10 and hit enter. And you're going to see that it has the @ symbol in front of it. So remember that that comes from our dynamic input. So the first numbers were absolute coordinate at 2, 2. And then the second one, just because we have our dynamic input turned on, is going to put in our @ 10, 10. Alright, I'll go ahead and create the next circle here, and there's many different ways of doing that. For example, I can locate the center of it, and I can use a radius circle. I can locate the center and use a diameter, but I'm going to use, or I can even use a 2-point circle, which is rather quickly than this one, but I'm going to give you a 3-point circle since we never ever used that before. So I'm going to go to 3-point circle, and all I'm going to do is select that midpoint, this midpoint, and then that midpoint, and it's going to create that. I could have did the exact same thing with a 2-point circle by selecting this midpoint and this midpoint, but I wanted to let you see how that is actually done with using a 3-point circle. Alright, so most of our work is done. I'm just going to back up here a little bit, and now it's ready to create our rectangular array. So let's go ahead and select rectangular array. The objects that I want to select is my square and my circle. Enter. And now you can see some things already starting to happen, and your ribbon at the top should change. Alright, let's take a look at how many columns we want. If we refer back to the drawing, we have 5 of those. And then we have 5 of these. The next thing, remember those 2 important numbers that I told you. It's going to be the distance between this center to that center. And likewise going this way for the columns, this center to that center. It just so happens that both of those rows are 12. So when I go ahead and type in 12 for both of these, you're going to see that it will adjust after I hit the enter button to the correct picture that I want. Alright, so that's all going to be all for this one. You can leave the associativity turned on or off in this case. So, and remember that that's just leaving them as individuals or grouped together. I'm going to turn the associativity on this one, and just to show you what that is, I'll go to close array. And now you can see that all of these should highlight when I touch one. Alright, if you ever did that and made a mistake and said, oh man, I meant to do that associativity, I wanted to turn that off, remember that you don't have to go back through the whole process again. you can use the explode command. Go ahead and select it and then hit enter, and now it's done. Now that's a final step though. You cannot go backwards from that other than doing an undo. There is no command that will take this back together. All right. So hopefully you enjoyed watching this video, and it kind of showed you, and I hopefully explained a little bit more about a rectangular array. And if you enjoyed this one, please go ahead and subscribe, like, and keep commenting on these videos. And once again, thank you to all the people that are consistently subscribing to my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and can't wait to do the next video. See you.